won't be coming to me as much as important is that you have, you know, you ask for, and I think a fair argument would be to have that as part of the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Are we, is enough, you know? And I think that's a fair question. And I personally, there are a lot of people who think we're as far as we can go with this thing, and let's just take a deep breath and step back. Beyond that, we want to drill down into some numbers and find out the truth of some of these things. The Anderson Casino says they're in terrible financial distress. They've barely been open, you know.
Yeah, a year.
Shelbyville's claiming they are, and you'll have all kinds of opinions. French Lick definitely has some problems because they are where they are. They're geographically isolated, and so forth. You know, so the threat of Ohio and Kentucky doing the same thing. It's just it's a big issue that needs to be addressed. And in that whole discussion is Fort Wayne's own issue as well. So,
well, we're hoping for the outcome that it'll be, as you say, that it isn't really something for Fort Wayne. And we don't particularly like the idea of a referendum, although it's pretty hard to say, well, we're against a referendum, but we don't have referendums on very many things. And the casino interests that pay $250 million for a license for the Anderson Casino could spend easily $5 million in slick advertising and TV and billboards, whereas we pass the plate around and get a few $1,000.
You're right.
So
you're right. I mean, that's we do put some limits on what you can do with some of the school referendums as far as the schools. They can't go out and be advertising and you know, through the kids to the, you know.
But you'll
say no song for the kids to the parents and things like that.
Yeah, they used to be able to sign them in the schools.
That's right. We put a limit on that, and rightly so. It was an unfair advantage, and we wanted it balanced. So I don't know how you do that out there other than
I don't
some
either,
financial limit on it, but it's possible.
But that's why that's sort of Plan B. In other words, if we can't get the license, well, let's go to Plan B.
Well, I'll tell you that the mayor wants only to do a referendum within the city limits, and I think we're inclined, if we did that, to make it countywide. Now I think, you know, I know why they elected in the city. They feel it has a better chance of passing, but I think this is a decision for the entire community to make. Well, if we did, you know, and that's. You know,
and the county has the court system, which has, and all the jail and the probation and all the judicial.
Exactly.
And that's what Karen Richards, I don't know if you saw her letter.
I did. Very well, very strong points.
Yeah.
Yeah. And interesting that Mayor Henry's never responded.
He never.
Yeah. He's not at that time.
No.
So, yeah.
No. So well, thank you very much for taking the time.
No, I respect everyone here coming down and you know, and getting engaged. I think that's important. It's important we hear from you, and it's important you be involved and feel passionately about an issue like this. And it will have an impact on our community that might be irreparable. I mean, I think it's important.
You never hear of one saying, well, let's close up and move out. I mean, once you get one, you got one.
Yeah. And we're kind of, you know, in a sense, in their eyes, virgin territory as far as, you know, there isn't a competitor
within 50.
Well, I mean, Anderson would be the closest, and that's an hour away, and that's kind of unusual in our state to have that kind of a gap with the large metropolitan area we have. But, you know, we're really working hard to diversify our economy. There's a lot of people working, you know, overtime, myself included. I'm trying to find some new paths for, you know, the Fort Wayne economy to go away from the automotive, you know, intense, you know, flavor we have up there. Like it or not, that's happening anyway naturally, but it's you know, there are a lot of good things that can happen in Fort Wayne and in our area if some of the things we're working on take root. We don't have to have a casino, and if you look too, and it was real interesting. I was just at a wedding in Michigan City so I saw for the first time the Blue Chip Casino. I drove by it on the way to the reception, which was in Long Beach, which was a little enclave next to Michigan City, and it was stunning. It was just a mess on either side of it. This big old beautiful hotel and casino and the flashing lights, and this completely, you know, run down, messy, you know, just you know, trash strewn area for a mile in either direction. It was, you know, it was the economically depressed area. the idea that these are somehow the golden goose, you know, for the area, I don't see the investment there. If you look in, you know, Gary, they still struggle, and I haven't seen a lot of good things for them out of that. Now they're in a different situation from others. They do have a lot of problems there, and whether this can help them in the future, I don't know. It doesn't appear that the economic activity they claim would happen from it has happened.
But they lose jobs in other segments. I mean, the restaurants, you're going to get a cheap meal and cheap liquor at the casino, and so the halls and the other restaurants and in town and Joseph Dupuy and others, they'll suffer. And so the jobs maybe in the casino will increase, but the jobs in the other sector will go away.
Well, I'll tell you, just my point being that, you know, it's been here 16 years and you don't see, at least not to the naked eye anyway, the kind of economic impact they had certainly hoped for. So I think there's a bit of an illusion there as far as what you can do. And now maybe they just haven't packaged it right. I don't know, but it's it's really evident when you go around these casinos that certainly around them, surrounding them, there's no evidence that it's had a positive economic impact for the community to say, well, we can show that yes, in spite of the fact that it's gambling, we have created 10,000 jobs because we were able to create an economic zone and we attracted new businesses. I'm not seeing that.
Well,
so,
this book, which you don't have time to read, Earl Greenhall's, what is it called? The something impact.
Gambling
the impact
in America.
And he's a former economist for the President Reagan's Council of Economic Advisors. So he's studied it thoroughly, and he has a lot of data showing that for every dollar gambled in a casino, it costs the community $3. I mean, it's amazing. And he goes through a very, very detailed explanation of that. So we could give you, that committee is...
No question there are a lot of barnacles attached to this, John. I don't think there's any issue. In my mind, I don't think anybody else is either. Is it worth it because you could get something else out of it? And that's the argument the mayor's trying to, put forth.
Get the money.
It isn't real obvious elsewhere in the state that that's happened, you know. But so that's my thinking right now.
Right.
I just want to thank you all for coming up and coming down here. It's a little quieter today. In some ways, that's good because we can sit here and talk a little bit. Yesterday was pretty hectic. We got through the budget.
Well, we scheduled this bus trip, and then we didn't. We noticed that the legislature didn't call us to see whether this would be their schedule would jive with ours. So
we tried to do something about that. Part of it's Senator Kenley's fault too. He wanted extra time to sit down and negotiate. So
Sounds like
you have to take it up with Lou. But nice to see you all. It's good to see you too.
Thank you, Senator. And one thing I want to mention, I was here in 1993 in the waning hours when they overrode Governor Vai's veto to give us riverboat gambling. And you are fortunate to have Senator Long as head of the Senate and to not, lots of these negotiations take place behind the scenes, for him to publicly, before the special session started, to say no, an expansion of gambling is not the right thing to do. Just as you've heard him say, we need to take a look at this from 10,000 feet, not in the heat of the battle. That's important. The other thing that he's doing is shining the light of day on exactly what gambling is, because this study committee he's talking about, people can come down and testify. And so it's a public hearing and another public opportunity. But you're fortunate to have Senator Long in the position that he's in, because there will be tremendous pressure the next 7 days on Senator Kenley, Senator Long to cave in to the gambling interest and the fact that they have staked out a position saying that's not the right thing for Indiana. We need to take a look at this. Is to be commended, because this is different than 1993.
We'll keep wish us well, and the big picture, of course, is trying to get the budget so that we protect the taxpayers. We're taking care of our kids. I think a reasonable funding formula. We're not slashing our schools funding. We're putting money to follow the child, not funding the institutions. A lot of good things that needed to be done for a long time, and the governor's behind this.
That'll go through it?
Yeah, I think our plan has a pretty good chance of happening. The problem is that Democrats want to fund schools that have, are losing, declining